question here.
Who has the microphone? Marcos, you go first.
I'm first.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed by all the lectures, and it touched a lot when we listen your experience and everything. I would like to tell something about my personal experience on this field. I have learned by Professor Sami to help, to support others. And I had the opportunity to be a couple of times in other countries doing surgeries, never for financial purposes, only for education, participating in courses and so on. And I can share your experience the same. Once I've been in Brazil doing a very difficult case of acoustic neuroma, very different environment, very difficult, everything, but surgery did well. But 2 days later, the patient was admitted at the intensive care unit. I asked why. He has a pneumonia. The patient has COVID. You didn't know that? No, I've never heard about this. They said, yes, but why did you offer this patient? The patient had COVID, difficult surgery, because there was no other patient for that. So this is very dangerous if we're not really involved on the indication for surgery. So in my opinion, of course, it helps if we go and perform that surgeries. But my best experience I have teaching the people of their countries in my own department. There is this wonderful program of the foundation created by Professor Sami with help of others. And we are running 2 fellowship programs, one for adult, the other one for pediatric neurosurgery. Our contribution is we pay everything, and the participants are people from, particularly from Africa, some Asian countries, and South America. They spent 3 months with us. Although we are a sophisticated department with intraop MRI and so on, and everything you can imagine, but I have learned simple surgeries with Professor Sami, and we use very few instruments for this kind of complex neurosurgery, and they learn to do that surgery with simple instruments and then go back. So in my opinion, again, although I guess it's still important to go to some countries and perform the surgeries there, but my greatest contribution is teaching others in my own department. And we spend money for that and give our contribution. And so far we have taught more than 50 people in both fields, pediatric and adult. So I just would like to share with you our experience.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's a great example of the fact that there are many ways to be a global neurosurgeon, right? Many different techniques and styles. The thing that is fundamentally different from when maybe you and I were training and now is that we had a single core professional responsibility, and that was to do the best we could with that one patient in front of us. But I think in our globalized world, we've now recognized that we have a second core responsibility, and that is to do what we can to help be sure that what we do, which we think is so important, is available for everyone everywhere at that level of quality. So sometimes that will mean going there and help doing the operations there. Sometimes it's welcoming colleagues here. Sometimes it's in the comfort of your own office, but sharing cases, lectures, discussing morbidity and mortality. There's many ways to participate, but the difference is we all must. It's part of passing it forward.
Yes,
Dr. Amrati?
Yeah, thank you very much for all these very, really very moving stories. Thank you. Very nice presentations. I just have a comment on the difficulty of different cultures meetings. There was an article, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, by a New Yorker journalist who she was stationed in Paris and she had to have a C-section at a French hospital in Paris, so in a well-developed country, supposedly. And she said, the article was, after surgery, I wanted narcotics. They gave me chamomile tea. And at the end, it worked very well. So I'm saying we should really take a look at a different culture from an equal point of view,
Yeah.
not from a different point of view. And I think that's a mental and cultural attitude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's an important comment about being open-minded and accepting the culture that we go into and bring the knowledge and wisdom that we have from where we're coming. Another question? Yes, please.
I would like very appreciate lecture about Afghanistan, and we are middle of Europe. And believe me that exactly in 1968, we were occupied by Russia. And believe me, myself, I cannot go for 20 years out of our country because it was Polish dictatorship and I cannot go abroad. And I developed all neurosurgery and surgery, just looking for papers and so on. And believe me, it can be just now in the world now. Of course, our situation was much more better than in Afghanistan, but I appreciate very highly, and we must remember this situation.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Jay Zhu. I'm a neuro-oncologist. Actually work here under Dr. Marco's department. I'm a neurologist. I'm not a neurosurgeon, but this is obviously very inspiring. And I have actually idea to share with you that might help international neurosurgeons or training them. Like I came from China originally and selected from China and then came here to do PhDs and entering just regular program. I was in Buffalo, New York, then get PhDs and something I get an MD. But the idea is if we can support some of the medical students from Nairobi or any Africa countries and let them immerse in our program in neurosurgery and then we pay for the tuition, whatever room and board, and then let them finish whatever 5 year, 6 year, 7 year training, and then they went back to their country and they build their program. We continue to support them through the Zoom or other phones and like to kind of a line of support. And if we train, students from respective country, allow them to going back. I know sometimes they may not going back like me. I'm one situation, but not all the students went back. But this is actually, I think in China, we came here like 60 of us every year for like 8 years. This is called a CASP program. It's actually Dr. Rui Wu from Cornell and initiated that. And a lot of them actually went back. About 50% went back to China. And I'm not sure, some of those are academy members here, like a Xiaodong Wan. He's a researcher from Southwestern. He's not a leader in China, like a Life Institute in China, in Beijing. So I think it's very successful this way to quote unquote a shortcut, to get them training here and then return to their own country and then they lead their respective program.
Yeah.
But the problem is getting here, obviously visa, and second, it's financial. But if you can maintain that, I think that's a shortcut. Obviously, we visit them, that's great. But as Sebastian mentioned, you do a few cases and you leave. And what happened? Sometimes that terminated.
Yeah.
That's just my idea to share with you. I think
thank
we
you.
are organization doing really a huge help for their country. They obviously limited resources. I want to thank you all for doing that.
Thank you. It does take a village, and I want to remind everybody to use resources that are available and collaborate, but also especially partner with industry because they do have special budgeting for equipment that they can donate to countries. But when you leave the equipment, make sure that it's viable equipment and that you have people that are trained to use it. So continue mentoring, continue the relationships. Do you have a question?
Yeah,
Thank
I just
you.
have a question. What
Tell
keeps
me.
you optimistic? I mean, I'm particularly Reference to Ali with what's happened there in the last year or so. And each of you, you describe, Sebastian describes some of the difficulties, and I think seeing failure obviously is problematic and emotional. So I was wondering, each of you, can you describe when you've seen the failure, what when you the positive things you see, what keeps you optimistic and keeps you going?
I'll start. You keep me optimistic. Honestly, you know, there's such good, such resilience, such beautiful people around us. You know, and it doesn't have to be a million. That's the thing. You see something, you trust that person. Trust, like, be completely different person than you. Different culture, different language, different religion, build a trusting bond. And some of the most beautiful things you see are of humanity are in these dark times, whether you hurt a patient and their family dies and they thank you, you know, or just a kind gesture of, hey, let's have food together. There's such a special thing about good people and good-hearted people. That'll always keep us going, always.
So great question, David. And I feel that really besides the patients, it's the young trainees who, you know, have maybe no resources, maybe studied for the USMLE on a dirt floor and scored in the top 1%. And they are so hungry for knowledge. They are not jaded. They are not cynical. They are not tired. They don't think their country is a quote unquote, you know, bad country. They think and dream of the future. They think they can be the next Sami, the next Morcos, you know, and those guys, that enthusiasm motivates us to say, well, maybe I didn't achieve all I wanted, or maybe not every case is perfect, but I will pass it to the next man who maybe can do it. That's really the story of humanity, is our evolution is thanks to the transmission of knowledge cognitively, not just genetically. And so I feel a burden. The more experienced we are, the more there is to teach, which is why Dr. Sami is operating at 87 and will never stop, because the more you know, the more you have to pass on. And so it's a form of responsibility, I think, that has to give us hope.
Yeah, I would say service through education. It's really what we need to do. We're so blessed to have been well-trained and to serve by educating others in all the ways we can.
I'm very impressed about all of you. But allow me, I have to differentiate something from each other, because otherwise we cannot come to a solution and to a result, which is always like surgery, the result is important. Talking is very easy to stay and talk, but achieve the result from 1,000 people, one achieve the goal and demonstrate the result. Two things we have to divide from each other if we want to achieve result. One is politic, actual politic or historical politic, what is happening through the world. If we mix that together, doesn't work. The other is the real education, but how we have to do education? We have to think about that. And we are talking about global neurosurgery. I don't believe that still we know what it means. I doubt about it, because this is only a word. But what is then the goal and what we are going to reach? This is not, has no definition. John F. Kennedy, you have cited him, 1961. This is very important for all of you. Has decided, because he was genius person, he wanted to change the world.
He decided to support 100 African best brain to educate and send them back to Africa to build Africa. His opinion was absolutely correct and unique. What happened? I'm talking about result. 100 best for all fields of science. He selected that. He did a great job. 61. All came to the United States. All have been educated on toppest level. What happened? None of them came back to Africa. One of these 100 was the father of Barack Obama in Hawaii. When we are really talking about solution of education in global, we have to think from beginning, what is the result, what we are doing. Talking only about something, this is very easy. I can stand here and talk about everything in the world, but you cannot change it. You are talking. But how we can achieve result? I believe 100% the cause of all disaster what we have in the world, please, you should write down what I'm telling you, is the lack of civilized countries like America, Europe, that they have missed to transfer the knowledge to those countries who have no access to be educated, you have mentioned. And this is our fault, that we had the knowledge and we kept the knowledge for us and developed more sophisticated. We are going to the moon and to everything, but we have in Africa still not the primary school for a child to go to the school. That is the truth of the world. We should really not talk only about problems. We have to see what is going on. And this makes me sick when I am thinking that always speaking and speaking. And I think Absalom had spoken about Africa. We have the results for Africa now. One of the boys that we have educated, Nasiro, he was 2007, we sent him back to Sokoto. Sokoto had 80 million people, no neurosurgeon. You know that. And we have educated him in Rabat. He came also to me. I was sure that he go back and then started. Therefore, I accepted that he come to me to little bit refine him for his work. He went back in Sokoto, created one of the best departments in Africa. He has a big staff, and he is now doing about 3,000, 4,000 operations with his associates and has a full education program in Sokoto to educate people for the country, for the Africa. And why I am telling that? Because we should always look at the results, what we are going to do. When we have not a goal what to do, then we will not, never, because people say and coming together, nice speeches and get together. And this is my experience as I become the world president. And I saw, as you have mentioned, one of the problems in Africa, 4 groups in Africa were fighting against each other here. They are witness. And I was observing as the world president that they are destroying themselves. And I invited all of them because I had the result in my mind in Nairobi, 2012.
Yes.
All these people, they didn't smell each other, but I brought all together. They came because of me to Nairobi. You remember, he is a witness. And I gave 30 or 40 minutes a talk. My son Amir was also because afterward he said to me, I have never seen you in such an emotional condition when we're talking to the African colleagues. Within 40 minutes, I could convince all of them that they have to be united. Then you can build the Africa. As far as you are fighting against each other, American, European are happy because each group goes and say, I am representative, and some American, some European took them to say, oh yes, you are European, I give you a position and so, and that was not Africa. And my word, you can remember, I said, look, I want to leave today to Nairobi, and I wish to create the strong voice of Africa. What I say, and when you come together and create, and then I have given the name CAANS. Is that correct? That is what I suggested, and they have accepted. Is this a strong continent? Because I say it is a continent. On all other continents has not this name, and I give you this present to be Continental African Association Neurosurgical Center. And within 6 months, the society was done. More than 50 countries of Africa become member. And now this CAANS has more power than the American, of European, and so for making decision in the World Federation. Is that true or not? Because they have a lot of I would say vote, but they have a president, and the president is respected now.
Yeah.
This is something that I am really advocating to you, that once we start something, we have to look about the results. I think you are quite right. And my Marcos has mentioned traveling surgeons. I have always hated. I have always refused, I have always refused to go and do surgery any place where I didn't know really what is going on.
Yeah.
Two really big countries in our world one is China, one is India. And I started in China or started in India. We had only 200 neurosurgeons in China, 200 neurosurgeons in India. That was 81. As in Mumbai, I started to educate. So now I make it short because we have no time. Otherwise, I could now go on and tell you what's going on. But now we have, I think, around 3,000-4,000 neurosurgeons in India. But I must tell you, all of my colleagues at that time, 200, I was permanently in relation to my Indian colleagues and permanently giving them the latest knowledge of neurosurgery to them, and they have educated so many people. China is become my second country of my life. Here, I am proud that here, Hamji is one of my best pupils. He is now director and director of the Shanghai Hospital neurosurgery. We have 100 educated, top-level Chinese neurosurgeon in his department. I have the honor to be the president of China INI, and I think I have here Professor Chao is also another pupil of me that more than 25, 30 years, they are in my permanent education. We are permanently exchanging. He is not only one of the best neurosurgeons in China, he is also president of the Capital Medical Hospital, University Hospital, as really supporting a hospital of 2,000 beds. And he's around 2,000 beds. And we operate. That time, as we started, we operated only 2-3 cases a day. Do you know what we are operating every day in Beijing under his direction? 50 cases every day. Is that correct? 40, 50 days or more. more, even more. And I must tell you, I want to summarize what I said. The only possibilities that we have in our life is to transfer the knowledge to the brain of the people in their own countries. Why I have decided to make Africa 100 educate in Africa. Here, he is one of the teachers in Algiers. Here is one of the teachers in Rabat. And they have educated there, and all of them went back to Africa and they are working. And all people who came to Germany, they didn't go. Who came to here, Romania, is staying in America. And this is the problem that we have really to go. And I believe the solution for peace in all over the world is to transfer knowledge to developing country. Dr. Eduardo said we had iron wall in Europe. I was the only person that every year went to Romania, to Czech Republic, to all the Eastern country and try to educate them in microsurgery and microneurosurgery. Is that true or not? I created a Central European Society at that time in order to bring, because also even in Europe, they have been seen as second, third class people. The Western Europe, like American, we are someone very special. Is that true or not? He is from Romania. He knows what I am telling. And I went to Romania and educated people in Romania. And now I must tell you, this is an example that we have to know. Divide the war. War is dirty things. You cannot change it. What is going? That is not our job. We are not politicians. We cannot do anything for the politic to change it. And therefore, I would say, I thank Jacques to have this session, which I believe for me is a highlight, because we are talking the truth and problems that every of you described that. And I think you spoke to the heart of everybody. And therefore, I thank you all. Please forgive me that I stand and took 5 or 6 minutes of your time. Please forgive me. I'm sorry about that. Please forgive me. Thank you very much.
I see in Afghanistan, India in your
Thank you.
future.
Thank you so much, Professor Sami. So with that, we're going to conclude our question and answers unless anybody has a quick, here, microphone, please. One question.
I try to speak loud, but I see, I'm very, very impressed and very moved emotionally by all your presentations. I'm very thankful that we did this session. And I see we need 2 solutions. One is like what you are doing, go to these countries regularly and help locally operating and teaching. But the other thing is the teaching that Professor Sami brought up. And I think there's a wonderful resource that you have with your INI in China, with all these big facilities. So it could be a very good education program, for instance, for African people who are eager to learn, to go for a certain period to China, INI, and undertake teaching there. And we could also go there and support this. But there are so many fantastic neurosurgeons in China. They could involve in this program. I think this could be a good solution practically. Yes.
Thank you.
we have been doing this for many years with the support of the Professor Sami, and we accept many doctors from Africa, from other countries to our center. We have a lot of clinical volume in our center, and also a lot of neurosurgeons. And we also have the advanced equipment and anything like the United States. But we pay more our effort to educate our Chinese doctors, also the doctors from other countries. There's Chinese old saying, it's better to give to teach others to fishing, other than give them fish. Yeah.
That's an Afghan saying. I think that it's difficult to make comment after the commentaire of Mr. Majid Sami. So I think that in Africa, especially, the first step is going on since 10 years with the Africa 100 program. But in the future, it's very difficult. I have some scholarship who are in their countries, like Niger, Guinea, and when they are in the department of neurosurgery, they have no material. They have no microscope. And when we have town of 5 million inhabitants and we have one scanner and no ERM, maybe it's difficult to work neurosurgery. But in another hand, I think that I have an experience of Algeria. In Algeria, after the war, there is no neurosurgery. And neurosurgery, the pioneer of neurosurgery was political, was painter, was too. It is not like in Europa and America. You are neurosurgeon, you make neurosurgery. But in Africa, it's very difficult because we haven't competence in the administration. And you said you need microscope, then do not, why microscope? The administration, it's very difficult, yes. So the neurosurgeon must be neurosurgeon and also political and be administrative to fight and to contribute to have a real department of neurosurgery. But maybe in the future it will be resolved. So just add what shows the needs now. The political, sanitary political in Africa said that our needs are in the basic neurosurgical pathologies and in the trauma and in malformation. And also pediatric and general medical is a priority, but not neurosurgery. It was the same in Algeria. It's very difficult to have department of neurosurgery because the needs, the principal needs are in the pediatric, in maternal, protection maternelle, and also general medicine.